The city adored Celeste Moreau. Her name drifted through marble halls and glass towers like perfume, subtle, expensive, impossible to ignore. She was the kind of socialite whose smile appeared on charity banners, whose gowns were whispered about days before they arrived, whose life seemed stitched from champagne bubbles and perfect lighting. At night, from the balcony of her penthouse, Celeste watched the city breathe. Neon veins pulsed through the streets below. Cars glided like thoughts she refused to finish. From up here, everything looked small, controlled. Yet when she closed her eyes, the darkness refused to obey her. The dreams came without warning. Always the same corridor, endless, narrow, lit by a low amber glow as if the walls themselves were remembering fire. Her heels echoed softly. Her breath fogged the air, and at the far end, a presence. Not a face, not a voice, a pull. It knew her name. Celeste woke each time with her heart racing, silk sheets tangled around her legs, the taste of something ancient lingering on her tongue. Desire? Fear? She could never tell where one ended and the other began. She told no one. Not her friends with their polished laughter. Not the men who wanted her arm for appearances and her silence for convenience. Certainly not the doctors, who would prescribe rest and call it a solution. Because the dreams didn't feel like illness. They felt like memory. She met him at a gala meant to save a cathedral. The irony did not escape her. Celeste stood beneath a chandelier older than her bloodline, accepting compliments she barely heard, when the air shifted. Not dramatically, no gasp, no turning heads. Just a silence. He stood near the far wall, untouched by the crowd. Dressed simply. Dark-haired. Still. His eyes met hers as if they had been waiting all evening for permission. Her breath caught. The corridor from her dreams flickered behind her eyes. She excused herself before logic could intervene, heels carrying her across polished marble. When she reached him, he inclined his head. Not a bow, not quite. More like recognition. "You came," he said. The words struck her with unreasonable force. "Do we know each other?" she asked. His lips curved faintly. "Not yet. But you know me." She laughed, sharp and defensive. "That's impossible." "Is it?" His voice was low, steady. Not seductive in the practiced way men used on her, but intimate. Like a truth spoken too close. They spoke little after that. He did not ask about her life. He did not praise her beauty. He asked instead about the nights. "What do you see when you dream?" Her fingers tightened around her glass. "I don't discuss dreams." "I know." Again, that sense of being known. When she turned away, shaken, he was gone. No farewell, no explanation. But that night, the corridor changed. At its end, a doorway stood open. Celeste began to notice fractures in her perfect world. Mirrors lingered a moment too long on her reflection. Elevators paused between floors. Stray shadows gathered where light should have erased them. And always, him. She saw him in rain-streaked windows, reflected in black car doors, standing across the street as dawn thinned the dark, never approaching, waiting. The dreams grew warmer, closer. The corridor no longer frightened her. It welcomed her. The amber glow pulsed like a living thing. When she reached the doorway, she could feel him just beyond, his presence pressing against her thoughts. One night, she stepped through. The world on the other side was older than language, stone and shadow, breath and memory woven together. He stood there, exactly as he had in her waking life, yet entirely different. "Why me?" she asked. "Because you listen," he said. "And because you're empty." The words should have offended her. Instead, they cracked something open. "I have everything," she whispered. "Yes," he replied gently. "Except yourself." She woke crying, a single tear sliding into her hairline. The next day, she canceled everything. They met again, this time by her choice. An abandoned theater at the edge of the city, its velvet seats rotting, its stage swallowed by dust. He stood beneath the proscenium arch as if it were a shrine. "You're not real," she said. "I am," he answered. just not the way you are. She circled him, studying the way his shadow moved independently of the broken lights above. The air around him hummed, low and constant. What are you? He did not answer immediately. Instead, he reached out, stopping just short of touching her cheek. The space between them burned. Someone who remembers you, he said. From before the masks, before the noise. Her desire rose like a tide, frightening in its intensity. It wasn't physical alone, it was existential, a longing to be seen without performance. If I come closer, she said, voice shaking, what happens? Everything you built begins to fall, he replied, and something truer takes its place. She stepped back. I can't, she said. He nodded, as if expecting this. You will. Because that night, when she returned to her penthouse, the city below felt like a lie. Celeste searched. Old libraries, private collections, forgotten texts bound in cracked leather. She followed footnotes and rumors, tracing symbols that appeared in her dreams. One name surfaced again and again, never written the same way twice. A watcher, a devourer, a guardian of thresholds. Not a demon. Not an angel. Something that fed on longing. Something drawn to those who lived divided lives. The realization hollowed her chest. You're using me, she accused him when she confronted him again. I am drawn to you, he corrected, as you are drawn to me. What happens when you're done? His silence was answer enough. The dreams intensified, bleeding into her waking hours. She began to forget meetings, faces, names. The corridor replaced hallways. The amber glow followed her even in daylight. Her friends said she looked radiant. She felt consumed. The final dream came like a summons. The corridor collapsed into a vast chamber, its walls etched with the lives of those who had stood here before. Lovers, kings, artists, all reaching. He waited at the center. If I stay, she said, what becomes of me? You will be whole, he answered, but not human. And if I leave? You will forget, he said softly, and live beautifully, and always ache. She thought of the city, the gowns, the applause. Then she thought of the girl she had been before she learned how to perform. Celeste stepped forward. The city woke to headlines. The beloved socialite had vanished. No signs of struggle. No goodbye. Her penthouse stood immaculate. Balcony doors open to the wind. At night, some say the amber glow flickers between buildings, just beyond sight. That those who feel empty sometimes dream of a corridor and a presence that knows their name. And deep within the threshold between worlds, Celeste Moreau stands beside him. No longer adorned, no longer divided. She watches. She waits. And she understands, at last, what it means to desire what haunts you. Because he was never human. And neither is she now. If this story touched something deep inside you, subscribe to the channel. Here, every story is made for those who feel too much, for those who carry silence in their hearts, for those who have been haunted by emotions that never truly leave. Leave a like. It helps this story reach other souls like yours. Share it with someone who lives between light and shadow. And stay, because many more stories are still waiting for you.